All right, so my friends, welcome. Complete set review for not all be one. Apparently, I misspoke in the last one. I was just making sure you're all paying attention. March of the Machine complete set review, limited, constructed, all the cards. We did white, blue, and black. Go watch us on YouTube if you missed them. But now we're doing red. We're going over all the cards, constructed, limited, giving out the awards, and we got Bronze Mythic coming up for the next set. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I got a Pro Tour coming up. Lots of cool stuff happening here. But let's get started with our first card here. And Phyrexian Goblin. Aki's Scrap Chomper. 1 mana for a 1/1 Phyrexian Goblin. Pay 2, sacrifice an artifact or a land, draw a card. Unfortunately, not really a constructed playable goblin, but in limited, this card's fine. I think if you're like making, artifacts that you can just sacrifice or whatever. I don't know. It's not very good, honestly. It's really lacking in both efficiency as well as rate. Sad way to start our red, honestly, with the unexciting goblin. But Beamtown Beat Stick. Sure. I guess.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
1 mana equipment. +1/+0 and has menace. Whenever equip creature does damage to a player or battle, make a treasure. Equip for 2. That's actually pretty good. This is very similar to Goldvine pick from whatever set that was in. That card was excellent. That was from Kaldheim. However, this is the opposite because Goldvine pick was 1 to equip and 2 to cast, which is much, much better. But that being said, wasn't pick also +1/+1 too? Yeah, this is definitely worse than pick, unfortunately. But that effect pick was a really, really good card in that format. And this card is pretty good. It gives menace too. Okay, sure. I can't read, obviously. I'm sorry, my brain's fried. So +1/+1 menace, gets treasure token, which is pretty good. Goldvine pick was +1/+1 and 1 to equip. So this card's definitely better than it looks, I think, because of that, because making treasures is so good. And it's very, very important to note there's a really strong sacrifice theme in black and red, as there always is. Boring, I know. But making treasures to sacrifice to various things is excellent. Scrap Chomper is not a great outlet, but there are much better ones. So I think this card's going to be pretty good. I think you definitely want to cast this card on turn 1. Try and, just wait to lower the mana cost possible, so you can play it for only 2 later. Obviously, playing on turn 3 and just putting it equip is pretty good too. Get your mana back as well. Card's going to play better than it looks, I think. I think it looks kind of bad, but I think it'll play better than it looks. Constructed, no. Bloodfeather Phoenix. I do like this card a lot, but no awards. 2 mana for a 2/2 flyer. Can't block, which is honestly one of the worst lines of text on a Magic card these days. Magic being so tempo-oriented. But 2/2 flyer for 2. Whenever an instant or sorcery spell you control deals damage to an opponent or battle, pay a red, bring it back with haste. So ideally, you'd be just discarding this card and then bringing it back later. Obviously, burn spells are great. I would be a lot better if it was any non-creature source dealing damage. So sagas and things like that, that'd be a lot better. But still a pretty good card, honestly. Rate's pretty good. You can discard it for value. Casting it isn't the worst thing in the world either. Pretty good card. In limited, honestly, a little worse in limited. It's funny because in limited, you can't block with it, but you can convoke with it, which is kind of cool. So you can still use it for things if you can't attack. And then just a 2/2 flyer is just fine also. Maybe you can trigger it also too. So just good in limited, but I think this could be a cool card in constructed as well. Burning Sun's Fury. 2 mana for an instant with convoke. Up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. Very weird card to give to convoke to, because you would want to be attacking with the creatures, not tapping them to give a creature haste, which is kind of weird. Typically, convoke cards are good because you go creature, convoke card, but you can't haste the creatures you tapped. So, very, very odd card. It's also not a combat trick either, because you're not winning any combats with it. So, very strange card. This can do 4 damage out of nowhere in theory, but don't think this card's very good in limited. Chandra, Hope's Beacon. No words? No words. 6 mana for a Planeswalker. It's a lot. 5 loyalty. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. This triggers only once each turn. That's a very powerful effect. Obviously, there are a lot of powerful spells you can copy, but that's a very, very powerful effect to have access to. Then it can also +2 to add 2 mana in any combination of colors. Those 2 effects work very well in concert. So you can go play this thing, plus add 2 mana, cast a Braid, kill 2 things. Because protecting this is very, very important. If this just was tap out for this and just say go, that would suck. But the fact you can use the card immediately is pretty good. It's also a lot of ramp, too. I mean, obviously it costs 6 by itself, but, like, going up to 9 mana is pretty powerful. So, pretty powerful effects here. +1 loyalty, exile top 5 cards of your library. Till the end of your next turn, you may cast an instant or sorcery card among them exile cards. That is good, but 5's a lot. You can't do this, like, you know, a bunch of times in a game, because you risk just decking, obviously. But it's a powerful effect. Obviously, +1 to draw a card is pretty good. And then you can also do -X. Deals X damage each of up to 2 targets. This card's freaking good. Jeez. I didn't really, like, parse, like, how good this card seems very, very good. So it can come into play, it can kill stuff, it can add mana, it can copy spells, it can kill things with the copied spells, and then it can draw cards. Damn. This card's pretty good. I don't know about best in show or anything, but this card's pretty impressive, all in all. It's obviously very expensive. It's just a very expensive sorcery speed 6 mana card that your opponent can just, like, spell pierce or disable stroke or whatever. But card's good. Card's pretty good. Limited, a little weirder because, like, you need spells in your deck, but constructed, this card's going to see play, I think. Hope's Beacon. City on Fire. Red, red, red 5. Convoke. If a sorcerer deals damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple the damage.
Wow.
Yeah. Commander card. Nothing else. Have fun tripling your damage, I guess. Coming in hot. 1 red instant. +1/+0, first strike, and then scry. I love 1 mana tricks limited. This card's fine. You know, you're not taking this card highly at all, but I'm not unhappy with this card's in my deck, I think. Fearless Scald, 5 mana for a creature. Dwarf Berserker, back up 1. Mechanics, put a counter on something, and then it can share the ability for a turn. It has double strike, and it's a 3/2. So, at face value, this is a 5 mana 4/3 double strike. That's pretty good, honestly. And you could also just, like, put it on a creature, double strike it, get it for a good attack, and still have a good creature that can block also. A 3/2 double strike is not bad. You know, it's not, like, impressive looking, but it is a reasonable size. Card's pretty good. I think if you're aggressive, card's pretty nice. It's cool. Furnace Gremlin, 2 mana for a 1/2. It's a Phyrexian Gremlin. 2 mana to give it +1/+0 on a turn, and then when it dies, incubate X for X is its power. It's a little clunky, but it's kind of cool. You pump it up twice, attack, trade, get a token, get a creature off of that, which is kind of cool. Seems fine. It's like a fine card. It's also just 2 mana for 2 permanents, just for your, like, sacrificing it for value and stuff, which is kind of cool. Furnace Host Charger, 5 mana for a 5/5 haste mountain cycling. This feels like the best of the land cyclers. I'm sorry, no, the white one's really good. The white one's probably the best one. But this does feel one of the better land cycling cards, because a 5/5 haste for 6 is not, like, the best thing ever, but not a bad thing at all to have access to later in the game. We saw this in Ikoria, right? There was a cycling creature with these same stats that was actually pretty good. So I think this card's nice. It's not a card you take early or anything like that, but the card's pretty cool. You know, it's also cool on Splash too, because, like, you can fix your splash with it, and then if you have your splash, it's a pretty good card to play in the late game. So card's nice. I like it. Cool 6-drop, 5/5 haste. Furnace Rains, 2 mana for a sorcery. Gaining control of target creature, untap it, gains haste, and then whenever a creature does damage to a player or battle, make a treasure. So this is just a threaten with minor text like we see in every single set. I am a little tired, honestly, of every single black-red limited theme being sacrificed every time, and just being, oh, there's a threaten. Get it? Threaten, sacrifice, you get it? That's how, you do the thing, right? Boring. But yeah, whatever. Obviously very good if you're doing the threaten stuff. It costs 3, not 4, which is very solid. Yeah, sure, whatever. Hangar Scrounger, 3 mana for a 2/1, backup 1. When it becomes tapped, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. This card's fine, honestly. A 3/2 for 3 is fine. When you attack, you loot, which is pretty cool. It's whenever it becomes tapped. So if you tap it to convoke or tap it to even crew a vehicle, you can trigger as well. Looting is, you know, it's fine. Not super exciting in limited, but it's obviously good later in the game. And then it has the backup ability too, which is kind of cool. So you can put this onto another creature, get the value immediately, which is kind of cool. That's fun. Into the Fire. 3 mana for a sorcery. It's a rare. Choose one. Pyroclasm, creatures, planeswalkers, and battles. Or Valakut Awakening. Just bottom X cards and then draw that many +1. If this was an instant, I think this card would be excellent and like a multi-format staple because the ability to have the flexibility of a Pyroclasm that's also a reset your hand kind of thing for combo decks is super sweet. As a sorcery, it's pretty unexciting, honestly. 2 damage is not really enough anymore to kill creatures that are relevant, and costing 3 is kind of rough. And then if you want a sweeper, this is a bad sweeper. And if you want the looty effect, it's a bad looty effect. And the flexibility of having both is not very exciting at sorcery speed. So not pumped here at all. In limited, it's honestly isn't even that great either. There are better sweepers, honestly. Not very good. Kind of a stinker. Karsus Depth Guard. The mana for a 4/3 defender, which is pretty well sized. As long as its power is 5 or greater, it can attack as though it didn't have defender. So this is a backup payoff. You put your backup counter on this, and then it can attack as a 5/4, which is pretty sweet. The fact that it can block always is still pretty good too. I like this card, honestly. This card's solid. Very good blocker, pretty good attacker with 1 backup counter. The fact that this card does something when you have not done the thing yet, and it blocks well is great. Card's good. Good draft card. Lithomatic Barrage. This is your red color hoser. Can't be countered. Deals 1 damage on creature or planeswalker, but if it's white or blue, it deals 5 damage. So kind of like a... Is it better than Rending Volley? Rending Volley can't be prevented also, I think. I don't know exactly. But very close to Rending Volley. You get the idea. It'll be obvious when it's good, and then obvious when it's not good. It's a sideboard card. Marauding Dreadship. The mana for a 4/1 vehicle. It's got haste, and then it incubates 2 when it ETBs, and it accrues for 2. So on turn 5, you can play this, incubate, make the 2/2, crew, and attack immediately. As a 4/1, it's not very exciting, but the value here is pretty good, honestly. The fact that you get a 2/2 anyway, so you spend 5 mana, get a 2/2, and then trade off is kind of cool. It's unfortunate because 4/1s are typically better on defense than offense because they just trade with everything, but they can trade up on defense. Card's weird, honestly. You know, it's 2 pieces of material, which is kind of good. It can sneak in for a lot of damage out of nowhere, which is kind of cool. I think this card might be a little better than it looks, honestly. Most of these vehicles in limited are very, very bad. I think this one's actually pretty good. Mirrored Bane Splitter, 1 mana for an equipment with Flash. When it ETPs, has fast attach, +2/+0, equip for 3. It's okay. You know, I think if you have a lot of high toughness, low power creatures, which is not likely, it's okay. It is definitely good with the Double Striker in white and good with keyword abilities in general. But it's okay. Here's Warcrafting. Wake up. We got a sleeper card. Red 1 sorcery. Deal 5 damage to target Sheoldred. Or a different creature, planeswalker, or battle. Look at the top 5 cards of your library where X is the excess damage dealt this way. You may exile one of those cards. The rest go on the bottom. And you may play the card this turn. It's important to note that this is this turn, not until the end of your next turn. It's annoying that like the templating goes back and forth because it can be confusing. But you must play the card this turn, which means you can't play this card on turn 3 for value. So that being said, it's a little rough. But if you need to kill something on turn 3, this does it. And then a little bit later in the game, this card can get value. It can be a 2-for-1. So on turn 5, you can like kill a Sheoldred and like hit a land and play the land, which is great. So this card feels like it's mostly going to be good because Sheoldred exists, and red needs a good answer to it. They can main deck if this card is definitely main deckable. It also can kill Planeswalkers, which is very good, and it can also kill battles. So if you need to win a battle immediately, boom, this card does it, which is great. Which is cool as well. So a lot of flexibility here, a little card advantage. It's a little clunky. I'm sorry. If you kill Sheoldred, you don't get the card. Right, I'm sorry, whatever. But you kill Sheoldred, that's the important part. Yeah, sorry, my bad. But regardless, killing Sheoldred is the important part. If this card was an instant, I think this card would be excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. As a sorcery, I think it's just good, but it fills a good role, for sure. Which is solid. So, card's good. Obviously, phenomenal limited card. Just good rule spell. Sleeper card of a set. And here's Warcrafting. So of a set, of the color. Onake?
You're saying it wrong.
Javelineer, 5 mana for a 5/4 reach. So, whatever. Taps to deal 2 damage to a player or battle. This is your average filler 5-drop. Not very well statted. Not bad in the board stall. Not happy if this card's in your deck, really. Just like, okay. Rawl's Reinforcements. 2 mana for 2 tokens. This card's going to be important. if you're playing the blue-red Convoke deck, I think this is the card you want. Great enabler. It's also a spell, which is kind of cool. I want to make sure that I'm doing things with these tokens, but if you are, this card seems excellent. There are a lot of big Convoke cards in these colors, and this helps us support them. In Constructed, probably not, but weirder things have happened. You know, Dragon Fodder, Raise the Alarm, etc., etc. As an instant, I think this card would have been awesome. But as a sorcery, it's still pretty good. And it's important to note also they're both blue and red, so they can pay the Convoke, like the actual red part of a Convoke card or the blue part of a Convoke card, which is cool. Ramosian Greatsword, 5 mana equipment, has Convoke. Equipped creature has +3/+1 and has Trample, equipped for 2. That is so freaking expensive. Holy God. Don't get me wrong, +3/+1 is certainly fine, but that is so much mana up front. Oh, man. Whew.
Still a piece of garbage.
If you're desperate for a way to break through, I guess, but... Rampaging Raptor. Best in show with the caveat that I think that this is going to be somewhat contingent on how good are the red battles and then the battles you play alongside this card. This card is very good on rate, right? 4/4 Trample Haste. That's the best. That's the benchmark. You can pump it. That's really cool too. It has the Planeswalker ability, which is great also. It's kind of like Questing Beast, so you can attack them and still get the Planeswalker. But I think the big thing here is that this is really, really good with battles because it stops the main problem battles have of having to choose between attacking the battle or attacking this. So I think because of that, this is one of the best battle enablers. And because of that, there are a lot of battles in the set, and the battles are probably pretty good. This card's super solid. Again, more of a battle enabler than a pure rate card. I think on pure rate, this card isn't quite there. It's good, but not incredible. But because of the battle synergies, there's some very good red battles. This card does a lot of work. And the pump effect's nice also as well with trample and stuff. You can just on turn 8, you can just be like, all right, attack, pump. It's an 8-power trampler. So, card's good, great limited card. Nothing really crazy here, but does seem good. Battles are all at the end, so we'll get to that in a little bit. Red Cap Heel Slasher. We got a Goblin. 4 mana for a 2/3. Common backup, first strike. All of these 4 mana common backup cards just seem so like, bleh. It is a 3/4 first strike for 4, so it has one of the better rates from the other ones. And then, of course, has the ability to put a counter on something else, which you pump it up. Leaving behind a 2/3 first strike, which is like okay. But this seems better than some other ones, but still not very exciting. I think I want to be using the counter for positive things with this card. For example, the curve of that 3-drop that can't attack unless it has 5 power into this card seems pretty good. But not a card you're like slam dunking or anything like that. Just an okay looking common for limited. Scrappy Bruiser. I like this card. Just the name and the raccoon just looks really good to me. Scrappy Bruiser. Just friggin' gonna get in there. Gonna knock him out. 4 mana for a 3/4. Whenever it attacks, up to 1 target attacking creature gets +2/+0 and trample until end of turn. Return that creature to its owner's hand at the end of combat. Very weird card. Kind of cool with the what are they freaking called? With the backup cards, you can bounce it and recast it and get more counters and stuff, which is cool. But bouncing your own stuff is not great, and there's no option. You have to do it. So you can choose to not use the ability, obviously, but then you don't get the effect. But if you want to use the +2/+0 and get the trample, you have to bounce the creature. So if you want to use your card, you get a bounce, which is rough. So this is mostly just like a mid to late game card where you're bouncing around things for value, hopefully. It also gives pseudo vigilance to your creatures too, where you can bounce it, recast it just untapped, obviously. All in all, though, I think this card's only okay. I don't think it's that exciting, honestly. Unless you have a lot of backup cards. I don't know. Cool art, fun name, but... Searing Barb. 2 mana for a sorcery. Shock something. If it's a creature, it can't block. And then incubate 1. 3 mana sorcery is pretty ugly here. Obviously, you kill something here and then make an incubate token. You're getting some value from the token, but this is like 2 damage, just not a lot of damage. This card's pretty bad, I think. Not great. You were always such a sharp student. Shame it took you so long to get to the point. Yeah, not great. Shatter Source. 6 mana instant Convoke. Choose one. 6 damage, target creature or planeswalker or battle. Destroy target artifact. This is one of your Convoke payoffs. So this is why you're putting the Raise the Alarm in your deck, to make the tokens. At 6 mana, this card's obviously not very good, but if we can Convoke this card down for 3 or 4 mana, 6 damage is a lot, and it's an instant, which is very important. The Convoke cards, you need to look at them from the context of instant sorceries, because as an instant, all your creatures are available to block, and then you can cast at end of turn. As a sorcery, you're tapping on your turn, they can't block. Huge difference there. So make sure you're being aware of the difference in your instant speed Convoke cards and your sorcery speed Convoke cards. As a sorcery, I think this card sucks. As an instant, I think it's quite good, actually. So, a solid card for your Convoke deck, good removal spell. It can also win a battle immediately, too, which is kind of nice. I don't think you want to actively be using these cards to win battles, because then you're just 2-for-1ing yourself. You're just spending a card to try and turn on your other card. But its option is there, which is kind of cool. Constructed now. Shivan Branchburner. 5 mana. 4/4. Flying Haste Convoke. Pretty good, honestly. Has the issue I just said about being a sorcery speed Convoke card. So you gotta tap your blockers. But it's big. A 4/4 Haste is pretty good and limited, obviously. Not for constructive, it's a good limited card. I think it's a little pricey. I think at maybe 6 mana, this card's really good. At 7, it's, maybe we're tapping too many things for it and can't defend ourselves well enough. This also isn't defending, so we're attacking with it. But pretty good curve stopper, I think, in limited. Seems reasonable. Stoked in Flames!
Our hero returns.
There you go. It's back. This card saw a lot of play in Constructed when it was legal the first time around. And that was when Convoke wasn't really a mechanic in red. It wasn't really supported too much. This card's good. 4 mana anywhere, or 4 damage anywhere for 4 mana, but you can Convoke it off your creatures. This is a huge card for red decks. Obviously the bad news is here that this can't kill Shieldred, which is not ideal. But 4 to the face, making tokens, squeeze in the format. Although squeeze is not like Goblin Realm Master, because you can't make the token and then Convoke immediately. You have to attack with it. But there are token effects. This card's really, really good. We'll see play Constructed for sure. Great limited card. Card's great. It's back. Happy to see it. Thrashing Frontliner. 2 mana for a 2/2 trample Phyrexian. Whenever it attacks a battle, +1/+1. It's fun. It's fun. A lot of battles in red and green. One of the main mechanics in red and green is to attack battles. And this card does that very, very well, while being a fine 2-drop. It's a good 2-drop. Good draft card. Trailblazing Historian. 2 mana for a 1/3 haste. Another creature gains haste on end of turn. At 2 mana, this isn't very exciting. We've seen this card before at 1 mana. As a 1/1, which is pretty cool, honestly. It ends up playing out better than it looks. As a 2-drop, you're kind of skipping a part of your curve to make the later parts of your curve better, which I don't really love. I think this card's not great. Not really a big fan of this card. Urabrask.
It's a trap!
Urabrask. I'm a little conflicted here with Urabrask. I'm really not sure if this card's good or not. But my gut says no. 4 mana for a 4/4 first strike. Look, listen. I understand that that's a fine rate. We don't do that anymore these days. That's not good enough. All right? That used to be good enough 5-10 years ago. It's not good enough anymore. So, on rate, whatever. We have a Dominus in the format right now. It does the same thing, right? Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it does 1 damage to an opponent, and you add a red. So we have this, kind of, Bergie or whatever the card is called, kind of combo potential where you play this card, keep casting spells, adding mana, keep playing cards, keep kind of doing your things, right? The problem is that Bergie, or whatever it is, costs 3. And even then is a little too clunky to be like a combo enabler. This thing costs 4. So you need to tap out for this 4/4, not affecting the board, then untap with it, and then have a bunch of these spells in your deck. You have a bunch of cantrips and considers or whatever the hell you're playing. Is that even that good? It's okay, it's fine. So are you playing this in a combo deck? Are you playing this in a mono red deck? Are you playing this for value? What are we doing exactly? Ping your opponent for 1's okay. It's just not a very flexible card, and it's just kind of clunky, and it's not really doing either thing well. That's a big issue. This card does 2 things, right? It's a 4/4 pretty well static creature, and it's sort of a combo enabler, but it's not good on either side. It's not doing either job well, so we just kind of have this card that's stuck in the middle, not doing anything good. We have 1 red to exile this and flip it. And if you do, you can do this if you cast 3 more instant or sorcery cards this turn. And you get the Great Work. which EDBs to deal 3 damage to your opponent and each creature they control, which is fine. Make 3 treasures, which is pretty bad. And at the end of turn, you may cast spells from your graveyard, which is like fine. But this is nothing compared to like the Shieldred Saga. It's just like, kill 9 things, you know, make all creatures from graveyards come into play, make 5 2/2s, you know, this is not that exciting. So overall, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze here. Maybe this card could be like used in spell-based decks in other formats where when they board out their removal spells, you board this thing in, which is kind of cool. But I think this card overall is going to be a miss. I think it's a trap. I think this card looks very appealing, but it's just not going to play very well. In limited, slam dunk first pick, obviously. It's a freaking first striker for 4. But I think in constructed, I think this card's a miss. I think it's a trap card. That's my call. Moving on to Volcanic Spite. Boom! Shit, wrong one. God damn it. Why am I so off today? I'm just like saying words wrong, hitting buttons wrong. I don't know. I guess I haven't slept that much. Bombin Common. There it is. I found the right button. This card is great. We obviously played Fire Prophecy in our Pro Tour deck in Pioneer a few months ago. Fire Prophecy is just this card minus a bunch of text. And this is Fire Prophecy plus. 2 mana for an instant. 3 damage to a creature, a planeswalker, or a battle. You may bottom a card from your hand if you do draw a card. Fire Prophecy not being able to hit planeswalkers was very relevant multiple times in Pioneer. Can't hit Narset, other things as well. This can also hit a battle in a pinch, which is, you know, if necessary, you can do that. In Limited, you can bottom a land or whatever, which is super great as well. So if you're in the market for Fire Prophecy, this is a much better Fire Prophecy. This is also a phenomenal Limited card. Just really, really good. Not much to say. The card's good. You get the idea. Nothing too crazy here. Just a very, very good card. Voldaren Thrillseeker. 3 mana for a 1/1. Backup 2. So you get 2 counters in this one. Pay 1, sack creature, deals damage equal to its power to any target. So kind of a cool flingy card. You obviously can put counters on a creature. You can sacrifice it and kill them. If you have the Yargle, whatever card, and then this card, you can put the counters on it. Makes it 20 power and sack it and kill them. That being said, I don't know, it's okay. Any target's pretty good, honestly. So if you're like playing, you know, whatever sacrificey stuff, you can like sacrifice to kill this thing. It's sort of similar to Goblin Bombardment, but having the mana on the cost is rough. Is a fling, so you can sacrifice other things as well, but again, it's only the things you put on for the 1 turn. I don't know. I think all in all, this card is just like okay. It can only sack itself in perpetuity. It can sack things 1 time once. It's okay. You know, I think this card's just fine. Great limited card because a 3/3 Ember Hauler for 3 is totally fine. I think constructing this card is like gonna do some cute like against the odds kind of stuff, but I think overall it's just not particularly great. War Train Slasher. 4 mana for a 3/4. Menace 4/3. I'm just so backwards today. I don't know. 4 mana for a 4/3 Menace, which is fine. Whenever it attacks a battle, double its power. This is a pretty good draft common. A 4/3 Menace for 4 is certainly fine. And then obviously if you're playing out of battles, this card can really go nuts, which is cool. Fine draft card. Not super exciting, but fine. Rand's Resolve. F's in chat for Reckless Impulse. I don't understand why we couldn't just do Reckless Impulse again, but 2 mana sorcery. Reckless Impulse. Exile top 2. Next turn you may play them. We know what Reckless Impulse does. It's a pretty cool card. Low curve decks. It's playable constructive. We already have this card, so whatever. Atali, Primal Conqueror.
Good lord. Gigantic.
7 mana for a 7/7 trample, so it's big. When it ETBs, each player exiles cards from top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs, which is very, very good. So, no matter what, when you cast this card, you're +2 cards and you cast them for free. And they're always spells. Prior versions of this card could hit lands. This always hits spells, which is really, really good. So, this card's great, honestly. I mean, the casting this card is very, very powerful. You get a big threat, and you could just, hit like their Shieldred and your Lightning Bolt or whatever. Not Lightning Bolt, but whatever. You get the idea. So, the power here is pretty good on first cast. It is obviously a 7 mana card, but still a very, very powerful ETB effect. Pretty good. Then you have the flip effect, which is 9 plus a green Phyrexian, which gives you Ulti Primal Sickness, which is a 11/11 indestructible.
Oh my god.
Whenever it does combat damage to a player, they get that many poison counters. So Blightsteel Colossus X-esque, which is obviously like cool, but like not the main part of the card because 10 mana is so much or 9 mana is so much. But I think that on the face value, this card's pretty good. You know, if there's some sort of like red-green ramp deck, this card's pretty good. There is a explosive vegetation in this set, which ramps right to 7, which is kind of cool. Obviously very weak to Disdainful Stroke, but this card's good. I think this card's going to be surprisingly good. Kind of a sleeper card. Looks pretty cool. Yeah, seems sweet. Great limited card, obviously. Harried Artisan. 3 mana for a 2/3 haste, which is obviously a fine rate. Not great, but fine. 3 mana and a white Phyrexian. Transform it into Phyrexian Skyflare, which is a 3/4 flying haste. So, just a good draft card. Decent rate on both sides. Nice size flyer. It's cool. This is a very complex set. Yeah, there's an unbelievable amount of words in all these cards. So much stuff going on. Kenner Spellseer. 2 mana for a 2/2 trample. Prowess. Pretty good combination, honestly. We love seeing Prowess and Trample at the same time. And a 2/2 Prowess for 2 is honestly fine by itself. But then you transform this bad boy and you with a 3 or a blue Phyrexian, and you get Gataxian Spellstalker, which is a 3/3 trample ward 2 Prowess. That's really good. The problem, of course, is that, like, spending 3 mana source speed to flip it, but that's a really powerful effect to have access to. It's good. It's good. Constructed, it's probably not there. But in limited, this card's bonkers. Bonkers. Constructed, maybe, but probably not. In Constructed, you gotta have the front side being good enough, which it is almost honestly close enough to being good enough. So, card's really good. Mythic, uncommon, and limited. Too bad it doesn't have trample. Right? Missed that one. Pyretic Prankster's next. 2 mana for a 2/1 Devil. 3 and a Phyrexian to transform. No abilities on the front side. Turns into Glycerin Goremonger, which is a 3/2. When it dies, each opponent sacrifices an artifact or creature. Pretty good card, honestly. Good draft common. It's 2-drop. Has some good upside on it. And might be a 2-for-1 on the way out. Card's good. It's a good draft card. So, to recap, Best in Show, Rampaging Raptor. Nahiri's Warcrafting is our sleeper card. Urabrask is our trap card. And Volcanic Spite is our Bombin Common. That's it for red. You two folks, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, all right? Please, every like really helps so much. It's like so, those that don't know for content creators, like, taking the literal half a second on a content creator that you like to like their video does so much for the algorithm. It's huge. Please, I really encourage you all, if you watch my videos on YouTube and you like them, you like me as a content creator, every video, just like it. As fast as you can. Like, all right? Appreciate it. Love you all. Green's coming next. Let's rock and roll.